Okay.
we're good on that end. So, all right, they're gonna start the match now. So,
okay, there we go.
Warm up.
So I can't replay the Vortex map preview because I played it way too early for that because I thought we were gonna be starting way afterwards. So, yeah, there we go. Vortex, as we said. Bit of a wild card pick. Only 1 win out of 5 appearances for this map for G1. We haven't won it so far. Yeah, that comes out for the back of Airwalk and being completely banned, and despite being a map being strong for both teams. So, yeah, it's a bit of an uncharted territory for us and also for G1. Not quite uncharted with their map win, but yeah, it will definitely be an interesting thing to follow.
Yeah, we'll see how they fare, and I think it's really going to be down to consistency. I say that every week. Oof, I feel like an old man repeating myself because it's kind of like, yeah, important is consistency, but when you really look down to it, we're at a level of gameplay that is so insanely precise, and it is, whether people like hearing it or not, all about consistency and how often they're able to produce that high level of play. And I think both of these teams, now that we've been through all this way in stage 2 last 2 games, I think they both have the ability to do it.
All right.
They should.
They should. They should indeed, as we go racing for round number 1 on Vortex. And yeah, already a difference in lines between these two, as yeah, this time it's indeed my internet that decided to crap out. Oh well.
Here. And
why did it have to happen that
unless
way?
GGeek you're talking, I apologize. I don't hear you on my end. But Binks is leading at the moment here with Gwen right behind. So G1 sitting at a nice favorable position at the moment.
Okay, hold on. I'm back. I'm back. I had a very big outage. Very big outage. Not quite outage, but a very big lag spike. So yeah, basically a desync from the internet. And Twitch is disconnected. Great, goody. Jesus Christ. Okay, I think that should be good. Reconnection successful. Yeah, okay. Oh, I can't even rejoin the server. That's brilliant. Sorry about this. If you can continue to call out what's happening in the meantime.
All right. So in the first round, we saw Gamers First take an ace over Sinners, and now we're in round 2. And Gwen and Binks are still in the fight with Kappa. Kappa leading at the moment. Tween was the first to make a mistake there at the beginning of round 2, and now it's Kappa at the moment just slightly by 0.05 at the moment. They're at the Walker lead now, 0.3 at the moment, as he gets to one of the smaller pipes. And before we get Gwen and Binks still side by side at the moment, 0.2 behind, and now we get to the identity. Kappa still leading at the moment.
Oh, no.
Here Kappa gets the first. No, he's gonna make a mistake, and so he falls off, has to reset, and Binks and Gwen are now gonna get, unfortunately, another ace, as Tween is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean, it's completely circumstances out of my control, getting a sudden spike of traffic for no good reason. And yeah, ended up missing the first 2 rounds. Thank you for to import. I don't know how much of that came through because I was still dealing with that spike, but thank you for having a little bit of Radio Le Mans style commentary for those of us that were trying to follow the rounds. As we're moving on to round number 3 right now, Tween with a pretty solid start after the first pipe. Kappa having conceded already half a second just after the turnstile before the first pipe, moving on to the end of the first sector. Tween and Kappa going for the Carlberg dirt line all the way around the outside, trying to carry a bit more speed. Will Tween go for the bug slide approach? No, he goes for the safer approach. And same goes for Binks and Gwen. Nobody... That's a bit of an interesting middle ground, to actually go for the full outside line and not go for the bug slide at the very second half of the of that particular corner for the reactor boost bar, because the bug slide is the much faster line, but we have seen very few teams pull that off in the meantime. And yeah, once again, Gamers First having the complete measure of this particular map pick. So it was maybe an oddball pick, but it knew that it could actually pull it off. And so right now, Binks and Gwen just continuing to pound in their advantage. And yeah, this is not looking very good for us on this opening map. It will be a 3rd consecutive ace for Team Blue with a time of 0.351 for Binks, 1/10 ahead of his teammate, 9-0. Yeah, this is a bit of a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, this is not what I think Sinners wanted. I don't think anybody necessarily expected a win like this. I do think Gamers First was expected to win this map, but not in this kind of fashion, especially in the first round. So, and Tween just hasn't been able to get off the ground at all so far in this first map. He's been consistently behind and making mistakes each round. We're only at round 4 before we likely will see the end here, unless Kappa and Tween are able to get an ace. We'll see though. As right now, Binks is leading at the moment. Kappa and Tween not too far behind, still 0.2, 0.3 behind with Gwen with Kappa at the moment. Tween now catching up to Binks ever so slightly here with that 0.2 separation between each other, but Binks has a better line and a lot more speed, is going to be able to pull away slightly now from Tween. Kappa and Gwen in the back are still fighting at the moment, but as we continue to look here forward at this identity, Banks gets the first pipe really well. Tween has more speed, and Binks goes flying. And now Kappa, if he's able to overtake Gwen, will he have it? Yes, he will, and it's going to be the ace at the end there, just barely keeping themselves alive and preventing a shutout at least for the first map.
Yeah, this is although I feel like this is a bit more of a freak accident. Binks must have been feeling like, what the heck just happened there? But yeah, he got basically yeeted off of the side of the map by hitting the very edge of the static block there. It's not quite a movie block, it's a static block, right? It's just like an obstacle. And yeah, it very much feels like when you actually flick like a puck off with a finger, with like the index finger. It definitely felt like that on multiple occasions. In the meantime, moving through round number 5, at the very least, it's not a 4-round deal that we have to deal with here. Tween managing to keep tabs with Gwen and Binks. This time, Gwen having completely messed up the entry into the reactor boost part, so that promotes Tween up into the lead, with Binks also falling back down to 2nd position. Kappa into 3rd place. He needs to try and either reel Binks back in or pray for a mistake from the Frenchman if he is to try and move up into 2nd position, as we're moving on to the last part of the racetrack with the identity coming up in a few seconds. Tween upholding the honor of Sinners individually at the very least. Now, can Binks try to reel him in? I don't think so. Or maybe he has a bit more speed coming into the entry of that said pipe, so it looks as though it might still be enough for the point for Gamers First. To the line we go. Tween will be able to hold on by 24 thousandths of a second. Then Binks in 2nd, Kappa in P3. It will still be a 10-5 victory. So we still managed to salvage a pretty decent showing thanks to a mistake from Binks, all with the irony being of that is, as we're moving on to our next map, we're moving on to one pick of ours, that being Grip.
Grip, a fun map, and especially one that is, if you are a mixed enjoyer, all these maps are mixed, but if you're a true mixed enjoyer, this has everything you want. So should be fun to watch as we go into Sinner's first pick here, like you said, Thomas, as we go now and think about kind of what we have to adjust ourselves here too. We saw that Tween and Kappa started coming alive towards the end of that first map.
Yep.
So maybe that sparks some life in terms of what is going to be happening in this match. Maybe it was nerves at the beginning. Maybe they're going to be able to warm up. So we'll see as they go into this first round.
Indeed. And just to give you a little bit of a gander at the stats. So 3 times this map has been played by G1. 33% map win rate. They only won it once. Same for Sinners. They've only won it once, although they played it 4 times. So a 25% win rate. And yeah, you're right. They did come alive a little bit later on during the first map, so that might be a few Diesel warm-up rounds that we've seen Kappa and Tween play on that opening map from G1 as we're moving through the first round. Kappa a little bit on the back foot, a little bit slower, 3/10 down compared to the leading trio of Tween, Gwen, Binks. 1, 2, 3. Kappa just reeling everyone back in. As soon as I say that, though, coming into the dirt now, moving on to the underwater part. We saw a couple of players a little bit earlier on getting a bounce, and we did see a bouncer in the form of Gwen, and that means Kappa moves up into 3rd place, and he's going to be going neck and neck with Binks, and actually it's a 3-way fight for the lead, with Binks also looking pretty dangerous compared to Tween, looking to try and make it in to the lead, getting a word in edgewise. It's going to be super close to the line. Binks, I think, has got him. He's got him by 15 thousandths of a second. I kind of knew it with his speed and the run-up that he had just before the jump into the finish line. So he will be able to salvage a draw and thus enable Gamers First to stay on the same level as Sinners, but boy oh boy was that a close one.
Yeah, what a great round overall, and more exciting now for the following round to see how it turns out here, especially with one of the members of Gamers First having that little blunder popping out of the water there. That was kind of unfortunate for them, but now they have the opportunity to either show up in the second round here, and Sinners needs to be able to kind of continue with their progress that they made on that first round and see if they can't do even better. But Gwen now having something other to say than that, as he is leading with quite a big lead over Tween at the moment, a 0.25 lead at the moment. Kappa, I think, is just going for an interesting choice of line, especially in that beginner part, because if you see, once he gets that dirt section, he actually has a lot more speed than the rest of the pack. And he's able to kind of reel him somewhat in. Unfortunately, in this round, as we're in the identity here, Gwen's still leading and Tween right behind him, and Kappa is also sitting in third. It is likely going to be Gwen here unless a major mistake is had, and it is going to be Gwen. It's going to be another tie, though, as Binks missing in action, 5 almost seconds behind.
Yeah, Binks with a very, very early crash at the start of the race, just before the transfer, actually, just on that jump where you're trying to go for a little bit of a side jump, not quite a side jump, but a bit of a corkscrew to get the back tire to land a little bit earlier on. I'm guessing he went a little bit too low and clobbered the side of the block, forcing himself to respawn. And already in terms of the times, we're delving into the 0.3s with a 0.390 being driven by Gwen in the previous round. As we're moving on to round number 4 now, through the transfer we go. We see Kappa going a little bit higher, and Gwen completely messing up at the transfer as well. So that is going to be good omen for us. Currently sitting in second and third. Binks going toe-to-toe. Kappa, unfortunately for him, will be hitting the pole with the right rear tire, allowing... Oh, no, Gwen is way too far down, actually, so we're still good.
Yeah, he made a bigger mistake, so he hit the pole at the back end.
Oh, okay. So we're still good. Tween and Binks, but Binks looking very, very aggro, trying to carry a lot more speed and go very aggressively towards the apex on the middle of the corner. Tween continuing to hold the lead by about half a tenth of a second as we're going through the identity. The second part, this is where Binks was able to pull in the snipe of the century, but this time he's going from too far back. He can't actually possibly reel that back in. So it will be the victory for Sinners, allowing us to move into the lead of the map, 4-3.
Yeah, a nice little lead that we're able to gain through here, and this is kind of where the consistency comes into play that we were talking about for Gamers First. Very fast players, but is it going to be enough? Is the speed going to be enough? Are they going to be fast together, or are they going to be fast one or the other for each round? And right now it's the latter half, where only one is being very fast and the other one's making a lot of mistakes. So, and they're trading back and forth. It's not one player on G1's side that's making more mistakes than the other. They're both making about the equal amount of blunders. But now with round 4, maybe they're able to change their luck, but we don't want that to happen as the Sinners stream here. We want Sinners to be able to succeed so far. And that's
very heavy Gwen crash.
A nice little result for Sinners to be able to recover as Gwen makes the first big mistake. Binks leading at the moment with Kappa right on his heels. Tween not too far behind, 0.3 behind. Less than that now as he's able to gain just a smidge of ground back as we go into this engine off section in the water here. Before we get to
Binks sliding out.
And that is a Binks mistake, and this is an opportunity for Sinners to be able to kind of jump away and run away with this map here. As Kappa and Tween, they are looking to save here. Binks is 3 seconds full behind, and that is going to be all she wrote for this round. It is going to be 7-3, and Sinners sitting in a prime spot to be able to win this map.
Indeed, very opportunistic rounds these, but we definitely take those. A 4-point lead for Kappa and Tween as they move on to their first map point of the series so far, and they have the opportunity to really much retaliate in a very convincing fashion after that first map, which could have been a complete walkout if not for the mistake from Binks towards the very end of the map, allowing a salvatory ace to prevent going under the baby-foot table, as we would say in French. Very loosely translated that. As we're moving on to the race, we seem to have lost Kappa. Yep, Kappa is missing in action after completely missing up the transfer jump. Going the jump just before the transfer, going for a low line. Tween, Gwen, Binks. Tiny bit of a correction from Tween. Yeah, there was a touch, but there was not any big penalty thanks to plastic. So there you go. So Tween continuing to hold the lead by God knows what miracle. Gwen and Binks second and third place right now as we head into the underwater part. Gwen going very wide and manages to get away with a clip just like Tween did a little bit earlier on in the round. Man, oh man, we're just playing with fire and with the track limits at this point. FIA stewards aren't going to be happy with this one. Tween still continuing to hold the lead, but Gwen is really catching back up very, very fast. End over fist. He manages to stay ahead up until the line. 0.03 of a second, a tiny margin though. It will still be able to get the draw for Sinners. 8-4 and a bit more manageable of a situation now.
A small sigh of relief for the Sinners side, avoiding a potential ace by G1. and getting it very close to tying it back up. But now Sinners with a good solid lead, still 8-4 at the moment in round 6, which could be the potential final round if one Sinners member is able to get first and the second gets at minimum third or better. So let's get into it here with Binks leading at the moment here. We see one back marker. That's going to be the side of Gwen having messed up that quarter pipe, and he's going way too wide now. So that is going to be him falling even further behind Kappa and Tween at the moment here. Side by side behind Gwinks, 0.2 behind. Are they going to be able to get enough speed here on the dirt sections? They've had really clean dirt sections thus far, so far in this match, and they are gaining a little bit of time. But that's going to be a Kappa mistake. Yeah, that is going to be a Kappa mistake there. So now it is Binks, Tween trying to at least stay in second place. Gwen is a little bit further behind, so he should be okay. But Tween makes a little mistake, though, on the penalty grass. Isn't going to be enough, though, to lose a spot, and is going to keep second place at least and avoid the ace. And Sinners just needs to get a tie or better, and they are gonna win this map.
Well, even better than the tie or better. It's just a second place on the individual standings at the end of the round that will give them the point that is just needed for that particular map to go their way. They just need to basically just get even a loss would do it. As we go on 6-9, nice, and even nicer, it is the 3-point lead for us as we head into round number 7. Gwen, Tween, Kappa, Binks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. As we're moving on to the transfer jump, we just need to force the status quo, and we just need to take the draw at most. We don't really need to push it for a win. Otherwise, we just run the risk of completely kicking ourselves in the balls. And yeah, Binks managing to make our take a little bit easier now and a little bit more pressure-free thanks to that little clip at the very top of the plastic hill. Gwen continuing to lead, though, by 0.2 of a second. Kappa and Tween right where they need to be in second and third place as we're moving on to the identity. First part now with Gwen continuing to lead. Can Kappa try to reel him in, though? Trying to challenge. Gwen going on 2 wheels, continuing to hold a pretty solid lead. 0.3 of a second now. There's no way we can get this back up. It will still be the win of the map. 10-7 for Sinners as Gwen fires in a low 0.327. Very solid time being driven by Gwen, even though it is not anywhere close to the current track record, which has been beaten a little bit earlier on today. It is a 0.222 courtesy of mine. As we're moving on to our third map of the day, back onto a G1 pick. It is going to be Off-Road next.
But Off-Road is a map that Sinners performs relatively well on, so it should be interesting to see how we go in here. G1 theoretically should be faster. It is a map they picked. It's a map that they feel comfortable on. But what we've seen, especially with the last map, which I think G1 has performed decently well at in previous matches, G1's Achilles' heel is their ability to make mistakes where it doesn't really need to happen, as we saw multiple times in that last matchup. So Sinners still has the opportunity to get a point off of here, even if it's not necessarily their map pick, just because it's a style that fits them.
Yeah, just looking at the stats from the Trakcmania.com website, Gamers First and Sinners both are on 100% win records on this map. It must be said, although in terms of individual finish positions for each player, Gwen is the trump card that G1 might be actually just getting out of there, because we do have a more consistent finish. 2.36 for Kappa, 2.21 for Tween. Binks is on 2.72, and Gwen has an average finishing position of 1.72. So yeah, he's going to be looking to be at the sharp end of the field as early as possible. Case in point, after sector number 1, he's trying to fight for the lead versus Tween and Binks. Actually, Tween holding his own nicely here just before the triangle line. Very close call with the CP there for Binks as everybody is regrouped within less than 0.5 of a second. A little bit of a slow exit from the ice slide for Tween and Gwen, allowing Kappa and Binks to shine through into first and second position. Kappa overtaking Binks for the lead. Tween up into third place, reeling Binks back in. This could be very, very good for us as we're moving on to the identity now. Binks reeling Kappa in. Slowly but surely, this is going to be a very, very close battle for the lead. Everybody forming a train behind, and it will be the position staying that way. Kappa, Binks, Tween, Gwen. Choo-choo, the train has finally arrived at the finish line, and it will be Sinners reaping the rewards. 2-1.
That was crazy tense as well, because any small mistake would have ruined the perfect trade that we had going on here. And we see early mistake already
Gwen
from one member of G1, I believe.
Touching the inside wall at T1.
Yeah, so he's going to be back behind at least 0.7, I think, at this point. Almost 0.7, as we now see Tween and Kappa. Nice speed going into the section right here. Binks still in the mix of the Kappa and Tween sandwich as we go into this next transitional element here. Binks was doing really well at this section last round, got a lot of speed out of it, but has to make a small adjustment there. Allows Kappa to just inch ever so slightly forward, but Binks opting to get a little airtime there. Ooh. Is that going to be a mistake? Yeah, it's going to be a huge mistake, but Tween also makes a mistake as well. So Kappa is all alone. We have to hope that Kappa is going to be able to just be consistent enough and finish cleanly here, as he can at least guarantee a tie. Tween should be able to finish third, as Gwen is full 7 seconds behind. He made even more mistakes. As what happened?
Oh, wait, Tween was supposed to.
They both.
Both?
Binks and Tween. Sorry, Binks and Tween. They just reset at the same area. So either way, result still stays the same. But yeah, that was interesting.
Interesting, and also interesting was the time from Kappa. It is definitely nothing to scuff at. A low 0.4. It was a 0.422 being driven by Kappa. Even though for context we're about around 0.3 away from the current record of the current track record. It's a 0.153 driven by Mime, and the record still stands from the beginning of the season. I think that hasn't been beaten in the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks. Gwen, unfortunately, going too low, not having enough speed, clipping at the top of the grass hill just at the end of the first sector, and he will be compounding that speed loss, about 0.6 down from the leading trio. Binks, currently his teammate, picking up the slack for G1, trying to hold it on onto the lead and try to force at the very least a draw for G1. Tween versus Kappa. Well, Tween versus Kappa. Tween and Kappa trying to tandem this together. Kappa trying to get a little bit more speed out there, but yeah, he had a bit of airtime, so that's not exactly going to be benefiting him. Binks will continue to hold the lead by about 1/10 of a second, just ahead of Tween. Tween a bit more speed on the entry to the set identity. Binks getting reeled in slowly but surely. Is it going to be enough? I don't think it is. We're running out of road. Tween will be hitting the tree. That's going to be at the very least a draw. It's still good for us because we still get to lead by 2 points. We still get to continue the lead, so everything's all good. We're at the halfway mark of the map for us. We still need a couple more rounds before we get into that match point, though.
And I don't think it was shown on the stream, but I was watching Kappa's perspective in that last round, and he had a very near miss with one of the trees as he slid out on the penalty grass just ever so slightly and almost clipped that tree. And it actually kind of threw him off his line so slightly after that second jump.
We lost Tween.
Another mistake.
We lost Tween.
So we have a mistake from the center side. Probably the first major mistake so far that we've seen from the center side, putting them at an early disadvantage compared to G1. And G1, if you've seen them before, they do love capitalizing on mistakes. But is Kappa going to be able to hold them off? As he's
that's a nice ice slide, though.
Yeah, he had a good ice slide. Isn't going to be enough. It should be now with a small mistake from Gwen on that exit of the ice, not being able to cancel the icy tires early enough. Should be able, though, to take over now with his extra speed. Kappa going for a little bit wider of a line, and now Kappa has to be able to deny at minimum. The ace is going to be able to do that. And now they are only within 1 point of each other. It's going to be 6-4 or 6-5, excuse me.
0.3 being driven by Gwen as well. I mean, we're getting slowly but surely faster and faster and faster here on off-road. And yeah, driving a high 0.3 is it is already already worthy of phrase to actually get down that low into the 59 range. Once you get into the 0.2 territory, you start becoming insane. That's pretty much the rule of thumb here when it comes to times on off-road. This time, though, no casualty to report over the course of the start. Maybe just a bit of a sluggish start and a bit of a hairy line over the top of the hill for Kappa heading into the first sector. He's going to be a bit of a further than a 10th down compared to the rest of the field. Tween and Binks going toe-to-toe for the lead of the race. Gwen as an independent adjudicator in 3rd position right now, going through the triangle line, moving onto the ice slide. Are we going to be seeing any loss of grip? No. Binks trying to go for a bit of a deeper dive, a bit more of a direct dive to the booster to recoup a little bit of speed. That works so far for him. Gwen managing to overtake Tween and Kappa for 2nd and 3rd position respectively. It could be an ace for G1. We need to absolutely stop this from happening. Tween is still within the clutches of Gwen, but it might be running out of road. We might be a little bit too late to actually prevent this from happening. Yeah, 18 thousandths. That was the margin of error right there between 2nd and 3rd place. So G1 will be coming back into the forefront with a 2-point lead and map point number 2 for them in the series.
Yeah, now track point for G1 here as they are able to get that ace from the previous round, and it's kind of just a little bit too much, it seems, for Kappa, at least on this map. He's consistently behind at least 0.3 from the top finishers every round thus far, minus the round that he did really well on. But right now, Sinners needs to be able to answer with at least 2 victories of their own to be able to tie it up, or at least get an ace to make it a little bit easier for them to get this map win. Right now we're at the ice section though. Tween leading at the moment, but Tween has to make an adjustment. He's going to fall way back, and now here's a massive opportunity for G1 to be able to finish it and get the win on this map, which would be unfortunate as the map had been so close for so many rounds. But now Binks and Gwen, having fixed all their mistakes, not making a mistake thus far, are likely going to be able to bring it home, and they are, and that is going to be the map win for G1.
I mean, you can't exactly fault Sinners for trying hard, but yeah, it just took a little few rounds for G1 to find their bearings. But once they found their bearings, they were pretty much unstoppable at this point, and yeah, thus they retake the lead in the proceedings 2-1 as we're going to be heading into our next map. It is going to be Pool. We're moving back into a Sinners pick, ladies and gentlemen. And if I take the stats from Pool right here, in terms of win rates, G1 are at a 60% win rate so far. They've played the map 5 times. 3 times they've won it. Sinners have only played twice this map. They did win on 1 occasion, and the win always came in when the map was picked by them. So this is going to be a very, very key distinction. In terms of ultimate pace, we're very close. In terms of average, we're very close as well, with the 105.7s, mid 105.7s in terms of average, and in terms of average finishing positions. Binks and Gwen sit very consistently with a 2.44 and 2.31. Kappa on a 2.43. Queen on a 2.43 as well, so we're even more consistent, albeit a little bit further down in terms of AFP, as we're moving on to round number 1 right here, right now. Everybody making it through the start nice and clean with a convict start. Now moving on to the long left-hander with a pinch in the road, before moving up on 2 wheels there for Binks, before slamming it back down on the road before the end of the first sector. 1/10.5 between first and last. Currently, it is Gwen at the tail end of the leading group. Moving on to the plastic part. Diving into the water before the slide cancel. Kappa going a little bit wider, trying to recoup a little bit more speed on the exit, but you can see Gwen this time reaping the benefits of a very, very savvy line, and he's going to be clipping on the outside with the right rear, so that's going to be giving a little bit of a sigh of relief for us, given that we have 1 less player hounding us behind, and now it's going to be all about the assault on Binks. Tween trying to make a move happen, doesn't make it stick quite just yet before the identity. Binks retaking the lead, both going for the outside line, following the perspective of Tween right now. Maybe Kappa will give us a bit of a better overview of what's going on up ahead, but you can see they're just scampering off into the distance. Tween versus Binks. Binks going a little bit for outside. It will be the win individually for Binks, and the draw will be forced by G1 with a 105.324. Tween a 10th behind, so still we can salvage a few more points from this. I feel like we could pick up a couple of victories there.
Yeah, just a minor blunder from the side of Kappa at the end there, but yeah, it was a really close matchup between Binks and
technical pause.
Tween.
Technical.
Tween DC'd.
Okay, so technical pause. That is well warranted. I guess it gives us a little bit of an opportunity, at least for me, to take a bit of a breather because yeah, I'm trying to spit out words at like 300 words per second, and you know, it tends to work sometimes. Most of the times, I just tend to trip over my own words more often than not. But I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's a stressful game. It's one of those games where it's like we really want to win, we want to be able to get it, and it's a very tough opponent as well with G1. And to think that Sinners, getting up to this point, has gone through an onslaught of matches up to this point. Yeah. It puts it all into a new perspective coming into this matchup, and knowing that we're competitive against G1. Like that last map, looking at that last map of off-road there, we were very competitive.
Yeah, we were very close.
G1 just happened to just like brush up their skills just a little bit on those last 2 rounds that allowed them to get back-to-back aces, which was unfortunate, but Sinners can pull from that they are competitive on these maps as compared to, let's talk about stage 1 when they played against G1, where it was sadness.
Yeah, I feel like it is pretty much, well, we call it in French a traversal, a crossing of the desert kind of situation, where it felt like we have been in a very, very long drought where nothing would work, and we would just get trounced, or even when we had a few things that would go our way, we ended up being completely getting our asses handed over to us by the opponents. And this time, it feels like that win versus ITB, it really sparked something. It really clicked. Something really clicked with Kappa and Tween, and now they're managing to get back on the ball, and actually managing to even potentially break even as early as today. This could be insane to think about, although we have to see if they're able to topple G1, who are no slouches either, even though the season results may not be leading you to think that they are among the fastest players on the grid. Kappa currently leading Gwen. Oh, Gwen actually having a really, really slow entry into the dirt part. So Binks and Tween moving up into second and third, respectively. Although Binks looking very, very fast at the entry to the identity. Kappa looking for a bit more of a safer entry. Still going toe-to-toe with Binks. Tween still in hot pursuit in third position. Moving on to the penultimate hairpin turn. Kappa versus Binks. Kappa's got him. Kappa's got him. Oh no! I really thought he had it.
Like it.
Yeah, it looked like it. It looked like he had it, but maybe just a tiny bit too much time spent into the water, or maybe just a tiny bit too much of an angle at the transition. It could have been the victory for Sinners, 2-2. I mean, fair play to Binks. That was a very, very nice race up front.
I mean, yeah, it was super close, and Binks, I think, just because he opted just for a little bit wider line to allow him to maintain his speed, that's how he was able to clip at the very end. Still, 0.01 is very close. That's like a toothpick width of space there between them. And so now, as we look into this third round, though, we see that Sinners are a little bit behind of G1 at the start here, with Gwen and Binks having a nice pace so far, actually really fast pace so far as they're going through. And we're going to see the first mistake from G1. Yeah, that was, I believe that was Gwen. Yes, it was, as he makes the first mistake early on. And now Sinners are looking like they might be able to catch up with Binks just ever so slightly. But Binks, he's been so fast and consistent on this map so far, and he's proving it again, especially this identity here where he is just able to maintain so much speed here. And I don't think, oh, that was a double mistake from the side of Sinners. Is it going to be enough to prevent at least, okay, whew, all right, it's going to be a tie. That was a little scary with Tween.
It is a tie.
Tween making a mistake.
Yeah, I was also a little bit scared. I was actually monitoring the gap with Gwen with a bit of a deep breath. But yeah, Tween managing to hold on to third place. And yeah, we were talking about Binks just before the game. And I feel like we've told him he was one of the most clutch players around. And yeah, he's pretty much the... You know, he's pretty much the recovery vehicle when it seems like everything is lost, when you feel like you just tanked yourself deep into like a dune of sand, and you feel like I'm gonna be stuck here forever. This is the recovery truck. Binks is the driver of that recovery truck because he's able to pull. He's able to pull wind out of his ass. There's no other way to say it, but he's able to basically bring grounds back for G1 and enabling them to keep themselves afloat, whilst Gwen, for instance, trying to find his marbles and tries to get himself back into a somewhat more leading form and trying to get some more points on the ball. This time it doesn't seem like that will be happening for G1, as Gwen is once again a little bit on the back foot, 8/10 down as we head into the identity. But as we said, Binks there when it needs to be, in first place. As we're moving on to the identity through the reactor boost part we go, and Binks is very, very hard to dislodge. He hasn't put any foot wrong whatsoever, and the trend is set to continue for a fourth consecutive round with a .238 as well. He doesn't put a foot wrong, and he's pretty damn fast at it too, driving within 1/10 of a second of his teammates' current track record. So just think about the consistency of Binks is just nuts.
Yeah, and this is where we have to look at Gwen, right? Where it's like, okay, Gwen, so Binks is carrying you right now, and if you, all Gwen needs to do, and he has the pace, he's fast on this map, super fast compared to the Sinners guys, and if Gwen would just kind of reduce his mistakes, I mean, G1 could have likely already been done with this map and added another point to them. But Sinners still at least able to maintain some distance towards Binks. So now Gwen leading at the moment, having not made a mistake yet. Is this the point where Gamers First runs away with it is the question, because Binks is still insanely fast. His pace is insane at the moment here. As Tween we see again where he tries to sneak in, but it's not just enough. Binks is able to maintain his speed as we get into the identity here. And now it's looking pretty dire for Sinners here as Gwen and Binks are leading at the moment. Kappa makes a mistake, so he is going to have to fall back, and it's up to Tween to capitalize on the mistakes.
Gwen,
oh
my God.
And Gwen getting an insane time of a 5.264. Binks right behind him, and that is going to be the ace.
Beyond the time, that finish from Gwen, he was sideways at the exit of the penultimate turn. Like, he was all sideways exiting the hairpin, and I thought he was actually going to be going away to the wall for sure. Like, that was a hell of a save at the finish from Gwen. But yeah, finally we do see a trend being taken from that particular matchup from round number 5, with Gamersource finally getting a little bit of room to breathe. And I gotta say, one team getting a little bit of room to breathe, as it looked to be always locked in the proverbial like status quo with all four draws in a row. Now, we do need a little bit of luck on our side. It looks as though that luck will be going onto our side with Gwen having a little bit of a blunder and basically hugging the outside wall, going too wide at the exit of the downhill part after the slide cancel, and now Binks also being feeling a little bit of the heat with Tween and Kappa moving up into first and second position. Binks with a bit of a better exit from the bubble row will be going toe-to-toe with Martin going through the identity right now. Tween needs to hold on for dear life as we're moving through the underwater reactive boost part. Tween still holding onto the lead. Kappa in second position. Now is the time to not crack under pressure. Binks versus Kappa for second place. Kappa's got him. We managed to get the counter ace that we need, even with a couple of little head bonks into the finish block. We are back on an even footing, 7-7, both teams on map point, and we still have the chance to tie the game up.
Yeah, now it's a little crazy considering the fact that honestly, I think many felt that G1 was just going to run away with it, and then Gwen gifting yet another round opportunity for Sinners to be able to make something out of it, and then even bigger, Binks also making the slightest blunder. We're talking Binks has been insanely fast, and even that last round, he still was
tiny bit of deviation,
yeah. He just made a slight deviation, and it costed him the win for that. But now we see Kappa making the first mistake early on, but he
not
might
quite
be
a
able to get
mistake.
back with
Not quite a mistake. It's a different line. I've seen it being attempted by, I think it was Pack. He goes for a voluntarily for a much wider line. Doesn't go for as much of a slide cancel to avoid scrubbing off too much speed as he tries to regain grip in the tire, and that rewards him by him taking himself to keep a wider turn and then getting on the gas a little bit later on, sure, but has much better exit speed going through this. In the meantime, identity, Tween, Binks, Gwen, this could still be heading the way to a draw. Oh, both of the oh my goodness, both of the G1 boys are in the mud. They completely full stop picked into the cube, and we have taken the ace thanks to that gigantic opportunity. Man, with the pace that we have been driving, something had to give, and in the end, it was G1 that ended up giving. Oh my goodness, we tied the game up, and in the most unlikely of ways possible with a .409, 1 second ahead of Tween, but then 3 seconds ahead of G1 with only Binks even able to reach the finish line. What a matchup!
The cube of sadness is what that was. The cube of sadness, both G1 members hitting the same cube at the exact same time, completely throwing the game at that point, and then even Tween making the smallest mistake but was able to recover and finish the ace, and now we're tied at 2-2. What a way to get into this fifth map here on Speed, which is a pick from Gamers First, but also a good pick for Sinners as they have performed relatively well on this map. But Gwen here, if I remember correctly, Gwen is insanely fast here.
Gwen is the former world record holder indeed. A 104.003 was the previous record that stood all the way back from the All-Stars Championship, remember. It was only beaten last week by Bren. So yeah, it is a record that stood for the best part of over a month. And this is now where we need to actually get the round going and maybe try to cause a little bit of an upset on G1, because the next map will be our last pick, which is Breaking. And maybe we could try to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into the plans of both Gwen and Binks. Currently Kappa in the middle of that blue group at the moment. First sector done, going through the first high-speed section, following the perspective of Tween, who's going to be carrying the most speed through. Gwen trying to make it through the chicane unscathed. Kappa forced to release quite heavily in order to make through that second chicane, and that's going to allow G1 to take a little bit more of a measure of the round. Gwen leading by about a 1/10.5 from his teammate Binks, who himself leads by about a 1/10.5 to 2/10 away from Tween, going for a little bit of a long way around, bit more airtime, but Binks was all sideways to the plastic, scrubbing too much speed, allowing Tween to move up into the battle for second position. Same for Kappa, going through the snake section. Gwen is all alone, 4/10 ahead. Binks slow through the snaking, midway through the snake. Identity coming up, Tween leading by about half a second now as we're moving on through the very high-speed slalom, but G1 does not give, and it will be the ace for Gamers First to start it off, and a 103.937. Yeah, I feel like we're just going to have to take the pill on that one, because in the high holy name is that a fast time. For reference, the record is a 103.783. I think this is the time, this is even the PB in match for Gwen right now. This is the first time draping into the 104s. Man, the talent of this young boy.
Yeah, Gwen here, insanely fast, insane pace that he has on this map here. And now we'll see if he's able to improve on that in the second round here as Tween falls slightly back, because let's just talk about Gwen a little bit more here. He has so much confidence in every single turn, every single release. You see the hesitation in Sinners, especially when we get to the identity here. where Sinners is a little bit more cautious in this identity, but if you watch Gwen, he goes full on towards that identity. He does not care if there's poles there or not. He pretends they don't exist. Now watch, he's going to make a mistake here. Let's see though, as we get into the identity, Tween and Kappa on his heels, being super far behind, and Gwen here just going through the poles like it's nothing.
Tween reeling him in, not enough.
Maybe, but it's not going to be enough. And yeah, 4.758. Still really fast time.
Yeah, yes, it's yeah, that's the thing. We gotta put a big asterisk about those times, because we're more used into the dipping into like the 104s, like high or mid 104s. Then Gwen decides, you know what, I'm just gonna shatter that, and that's pretty much it. Kappa unfortunately having a bit of a trouble at the start, right at the very top of the bubble road, so it would be all down to Tween to try and pick up the slack to guarantee at the very least a point for Sinners. Right now, he's leading just up ahead of Gwen, and Binks. He's also not that far off behind, a 10th behind before the first no break section there, but Tween's forced to release dramatically. Gwen has got that line figured out so well. He just has so much confidence, as you were saying. He just releases very, very minimally, just what it needs to do to make it through as fast as possible and just making it through unscathed. And look at the low line he's able to get through to the plastic, though the landing on the plastic and the scrub off of speed looked like it would be advantaging Tween. Still, Gwen leading by about a 10th of a second. Though the exit of the bubble road was very sketchy for the G1 boy. And now Tween is going toe-to-toe with the leader as we're moving on to the identity. They're going neck and neck at the split. 100th of a second is all that separates them, but Tween has got the less good approach, has got the much more troublesome approach, and Gwen with a low 104, 0.295. Kappa taking advantage of the demise from Tween, at least securing a point for Sinners, but yeah, that is indeed the victory for G1, extending their gap to 4 points. I mean, we kind of expected this being a G1 pick, but I felt like we could have, we can maybe take to the G1 boys, but following the run of performance that Gwen is showing us, I don't think so. I don't think we can really do anything against this alien guy.
Yeah, this is kind of where we would kind of need. Oh, Gwen making the first mistake, and actually I was literally about to mention that. I was like, this is where we kind of need Gwen's inconsistency to kind of pop up and kind of help Sinners in this regard, because Binks actually seems to have a little bit less pace than the Sinners duo. And Gwen, he's out of it. He's already made more mistakes than I could even make. As we go forward to now the front pack here, it's Tween with a little sketchy kind of landing there on the plastic section, and Binks is going to be able to pull ahead on this section now, maybe save G1 from getting aced on, as Binks now in the lead up into this identity. Now it's really just down to who makes a mistake, who doesn't, who has more confidence. Right now, Binks is going to be the one with the most confidence. Kappa, though, going really
not
fast.
Too late. He doesn't have it.
It's too late, yeah, and that is going to be the ace. Or sorry, excuse me, not the ace, the tie.
The tie, right? But yeah, I mean, as we said earlier, Binks is right there. He's the fixer, basically. Whenever G1 is in trouble, we've got Binks right there to pick up the slack. And yeah, this just goes to show you that both Binks and Gwen have got really, really good chemistry together. They work really well together. They're able to pick up where someone left off, or they're able to kind of like take one for the team if there is a little bit of a trouble for one of the teammates, for instance, to actually salvage at the very least a point or even a tie. This is very much what makes the key difference between games won and games lost. In the meantime, both of the G1 boys are going to be heavy in the doldrums with a very early mistake on from Gwen.
Tween
too. Yeah, but Gwen pulled the Kappa essentially with going on top of the bubble row, but Tween's mistake later on, just before the dirt part, is very detrimental for us, as he is now within the clutches of Binks, dropping back down to 3rd position. Gwen up into P2. Now we just need to wait and see what will happen at the identity. Kappa should be able to try and force this, just to secure the win, 1.2 seconds ahead, and actually Gwen very slow into the snaking, so we're moving on to the identity with 1 and 2, but Tween looking very slow. This is where Gwen is able to shine through, and shine through he does, taking the win, and taking the 2nd place away from Tween, 104.981, which is a no slouch, but yeah, it's still not enough to really curtail any big advantage that G1 has. We do need to get an ace very, very quickly here if we want to stand a chance of actually stealing a G1 map pick.
Yeah, and this map is so close just because of the inconsistency from Gwen, and he makes the same mistake again already. And so now it's Tween and Kappa versus Binks. We have another opportunity here for the side of Sinners to be able to potentially take an ace. It's really down to one Sinners being clean and Binks making a mistake. as Binks has a lot of pace, and he makes a mistake.
Pinball machine!
So this is the situation that we need here. Tween needs to be clean, Kappa needs to be clean, and then they have this perfectly. They'd be able to tie it up 8-8. This is the opportunity that we've been looking for, and now it has been presented to us on a silver platter.
Welcome
to get my words out.
Welcome to my world, man. Don't worry about it. I got you. But yeah, this is very, very, very important that we do not mess this up. We cannot afford to have a brush with the wall. Even how slight it may be, there is a 3.1 second gap between us and Gwen. We have to make it through, and yet Tween knows this more than ever. He instantly lifted after the booster. He's like, screw this, I'm not gonna try to send it through. Kappa managed to make it through unscathed, and the times already show 105.575. We wanted to play it safe. We wanted to bring those 3 points home, and bring them home we did. Both teams on map point, and both teams in with a shot of actually taking the lead. Sinners potentially taking the lead for the first time in the series if they're able to pull off a victory versus G1 now.
It's now do or die in this last round, and it's if anybody else's butt cheeks are clenching, mine are right now as we get into this final round. Gwen with a superb start though at the beginning. Is he going to be able to avoid the mistakes that he's been making every single round for the last 3 rounds is the question. And so far, yes, but everybody seems to be a little bit more safe.
Oh, this time's Kappa.
Kappa makes the first major mistake, and that leaves Tween to be able to try to avoid allowing G1 getting the victory. All they need is a victory to win. And right now they're sitting in prime position to do that. Tween has to be able to overtake Gwen in order to avoid losing this map pick. And right now it seems so unlikely because Gwen is on a fire pace. He's 0.5 ahead of both Tween and Binks at the moment here. Gwen, as long as he gets this cleanly, it is pretty much in the bag for him. Tween has to risk it.
Oh, he touches the pole!
No! That is going to be the map.
Ah, that's pain. That's pain. Oh my god, we could have had it. Yeah, I was like, oh, Gwen actually barely brushed the wall. That could have been enough, but yeah, unfortunately for Tween, didn't. Just a tiny bit of misalignment going through those poles, and that's it. You're just going to be full stop picking into them at the next second. And that's going to mean Gamers First retaking the lead into the best of 7. We're moving on to breaking, and I already completely forgotten to get the freaking map preview rolling, but there it is. So yeah, breaking, map number 6. This is our last pick. We need to make it count. We have to win it in order to force it onto control, which would be game number 7. And just to take a look at the stats really quickly here on breaking, G1 have a very solid track record. 75% win rate. They won 3 out of 4 times they played this map. Sinners, they won 1 out of 3 times, but I feel like we could still salvage something out of this because, well, there was a bit of a disadvantage for G1, but I don't know. Just on the off chance, like Lady Luck just needs to be on their side, on the outside, just once. We just ask this just once, and then we'll move on to control.
Yeah, just a little luck, just a little momentum for us would be fantastic to go into map 7. And right now, it is down to breaking at this point for Sinners. They have to be able to capitalize on the mistakes of G1. The pace is going to be also in question here.
Oh, Binks.
Binks making the first mistake already, so Tween and Kappa now on the heel of Gwen as an opportunity for Sinners to get some major points here. As long as Gwen continues to make no mistakes, though, he will be able to prevent any major points. But right now, Gwen...
it's the sign.
A big mistake. So now is the ace opportunity for Tween and Kappa here, as they just really need to just take it in, pull it in, and get to the finish. Now, to be fair, Binks is not too far behind, so any major mistake from the side of Sinners is easily taken advantage of. Tween and Kappa, though, as they get to the final section here before the identity. Binks now within 0.5 behind them. Tween and Kappa.
Oh, Kappa slides out.
Kappa makes the first mistake, so Tween now just the sole individual to try to overtake Binks, and he has quite a bit of speed. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Is Kappa going to be able to finish ahead of Gwen, though, is the question.
Yeah,
yes,
Gwen is way far down. He had to respawn a bit later on, so we're good. We're good, but that could have been a bit catastrophic. But yeah, it's very tricky. Yeah, it is very tricky to actually get that entry with the wet tires onto that very first long right-hander, and it's very easy to kind of get a bit too much angle going in, and you end up sliding out just like Kappa did. Now, we are lucky to not have had any bouncers at the start, because if you get a bouncer here at the start foot bath, it is completely game over. Oh yeah, both Kappa and Tween hitting the wall and the inside of the circle, which is just become a bit of a rare occurrence actually these days. We don't really see players do that very often, but when they do, yeah, it is going to be a pretty catastrophic ending to the challenge of Kappa and Tween, at the very least for the time being. Now we're going to have to follow along with Gwen and Biggs in first and second position. They're going to be tandeming this together, and now for Gwen, it's going to be a case of don't hit the sign. And this time, he manages to get the trajectory well, nicely reined in, and avoids hitting the sign, and manages to keep it off of the outside wall through the dirt as well. I mean, great car control from the young Frenchman as we're moving to the last sector of the map, going through the ice. You can even take a little bit of a penalty snow on the way in if you got enough time to manage. And now the identity with Gwen, again, leading his teammate Binks by about a 1/10.5 of a second through the first right-hander. Gwen going very close to the sign now before the final checkpoint, and now trying to get a little bit more of a swerving, and the slides through, and that's going to be the full lockout ace for Gamers First, with a .215 being driven by Gwen, which is very, very fast. For context, the current record on the map is a 1:13.035, which is being held by your round winner. And so, Gamers First retaking the lead, 2 points now ahead of Sinners.
Yeah, looking at Sinners here to not produce the same mistake that they made last round, which is an area that, I mean, really shouldn't be producing any mistakes for anyone on this map here, as is a very relatively, when I say relatively simple for this level of play to get through. And so now we see everybody getting it mostly cleaned. Gwen is going to be ever so slightly behind, and Tween and Kappa now sitting at the front ahead of Binks, at least a .1 advantage over Binks and Gwen here, as now Binks is trying to reel him in. Gwen as well. Kappa has made him a small blunder with his line choice and is kind of paying for it. But now we see who is going to lead out here in this dirt section, and it is going to be Tween, far and away of the rest of the pack here. Binks now slotting himself into second. Kappa and Gwen fighting for third at the moment here, with Gwen making a slight mistake on the outside.
Ooh, Binks.
With his drift. And Binks now with insane speed over Tween and Kappa. It's going to go down to the identity here. And Binks goes
heavy crash
to the side of the CP. Big crash there. Gwen makes a crash as well. Here's an opportunity for the ace for Sinners to be able to pull ahead here as a counter ace from Gamers First. It is going to be the ace for Sinners, man.
For swimmers.
It's for swimmers.
I mean,
English language.
I mean, it makes sense.
A struggle.
I mean, swimmers make sense. I mean, we're driving underwater in other parts of the map where it could be swimmers or swimmers are sinners, and sinners might be winners, right? All right.
Surely.
I think we'll go with that. So, yeah. Sinners now back in the lead, 1 point ahead of Gamers First as we head into round number 4. Still in with a shot of forcing that into control, which was once again game number 7 for this best of 7 series. Gwen gaining a little bit too much deviation, going a bit wider, so he will be down in last position at the moment, but he gets wow, the double apex right-hander from Gwen over the reactor boost, the water glider section. That is chef's kiss. The precision of which he drives through this is absolutely outstanding. Binks, in the meantime, leading Tween by about a 1/10 of a second. Gwen managing to get a tighter line compared to Kappa before the ice slide will move up temporarily into third place. Now, the exit from that ice slide is very important to carry a bit more speed and carry all the way around the outside wall to the dirt. Binks continuing to hold a pretty significant lead of around 2/10 of a second to the Sinners duo and make that the trio of Sinners and Gwen as he continues to make solid inroads. Tween taking a little bit too much snow on the way in, so he will be slowing down quite dramatically. Kappa gets the floating entry there, so he will be leaving Tween all on his own to try and fend off the attacks of G1. G1, though, Gwen looking supremely fast over the first corner, the last corner coming up in the identity. Gwen going too far to the right hand, to the left hand side, forced to respawn before hitting the side of the ramps, and he's going so far back that he's actually allowed Kappa to move through into first place. So Binks might have put in an insane time of a 1:13.190, but with Gwen having completely messed up the last corner, it is going to be a draw that is going to be favoring Sinners in the long run as they get to keep that 1 point lead.
Yeah, a sigh of relief for Sinners as they're able to get the tie thanks to Gwen making a massive mistake. Oh, we saw an early mistake.
Gwen.
Was that Gwen? That was Gwen.
He got the bounce out that we were talking about a little bit earlier, and that is going to be basically game over right now for Gamers First. Binks has to force the draw if he wants to keep himself and Gwen alive to try and close this out on the 4-2, but this is going to be a good opportunity for us to try to press in that advantage and move to within a single point of forcing this into control.
Yeah, Kappa and Tween, though, now being able to keep their lead over Binks at the moment.
Oh, Kappa sliding out.
Kappa, as I speak, he makes a mistake on the ice.
Third place still. Gwen is way far down.
Yeah, Gwen had the unfortunate start that Elcon had when they ITB played against Sinners, where it's kind of like almost like a soft lock at the start.
Yeah, or to draw the parallel to Challenger League, Dexter has had that also in a couple of instances when he was playing for Sprout as well. So, yeah, it is not uncommon.
Yeah, but now Binks sitting in the lead at the moment over Tween here. Binks likely going to be able to finish in first here unless Tween has something to say about it. Oh, he's getting a little close, but not close enough.
Man.
Where's Kappa, though? Kappa, okay, he's there.
Yeah,
he's
P3, that's fine. Tie. It's a tie. But yeah, I was actually believing in the snipe at the ending there for Tween because, yeah, he was looking super close. He had caught a big time to Binks just before the finish line. He just ended up missing a couple of meters at best, and then the move would have been done. But 7-6, still G1 within a single point though, so ain't no rest for the wicked. Map point number 3 for Sinners. We need to perform. If we can get the ace ASAP, oh my god, 2 rounds in a row, we're getting the wrong entry for Gwen. He gets the bounce out, and that is going to be confining him into 4th position for good as we're moving on to the rest of the round through the water glider part. Again, Binks going to the same round as Gwen, actually. There's 2 schools of thought. You go very, very wide on the left-hand side, and then you try to go for as straight of a beeline as you can take through that double apex right-hander over the water glider to get as much speed as you can from the exit. And that's worked out for Binks, allowing himself to move up into 2nd position. Kappa trying to reel Binks back in through the ice slide. This is a very aggressive entry there from Martin. Tween currently still sitting in the lead by 0.2 of a second ahead of Binks, but Binks has got so much more speed coming from the dirt part. He's going to be reeling Tween back in. We need to continue holding on for dear life as we're moving through the ice part. And a bit of a snow on the way in, but everybody's got it fairly equal, except for Kappa, who's got a little bit slowed down and actually got left by Binks in the dust, who's going to go toe-to-toe with Tween at the identity. Currently advantage to Binks, taking over the lead from Marek. Can Marek try to retaliate, or are we going to be seeing Binks going too wide into the wall? The answer is going to be a no. It's going to be, once again, Binks here saving the day of Gamers First, but still, Kappa and Tween continuing the progression. Now it is a dangerous place, though, as both Sinners and G1 are in match point, map point, and most importantly for G1, it is match point. We must not let any points slip up to G1 in any single way.
Now it's really down to essentially a coin flip of sorts with how this match has gone so far. Gwen finally not making a mistake at the start, so now he is in contention potentially for this round here as Binks takes the early lead for the moment here. But I would like to stay at Gwen because Gwen has been the one who has kind of been the back marker for a lot of the maps, excluding speed, for Gamers First here, and now it is kind of up to him for their side to be able to reel it in for his team. But Tween and Kappa having a really good start so far in this round. Ice section is going to be the big decider here. As
Binks has gone to solid exit from this watch.
Yeah, Binks has insane speed every single time from that exit, and it benefits him tremendously as we get into the final sections here. It's going to go down to the wire. This is where Binks has pulled ahead, and Gwen now with his speed over Tween is pulling ahead as well. It could be a potential ace now with Kappa as he's only slightly ahead. Gwen has had an
Kappa's still there. He's reeling both back in. He's reeling both back in. Gwen, Binks, Kappa together to the line. Come on. Gwen's going to crush out. We're going to win. It's done. We're taking map 6. We move on to game 7. What a finish. 0.374 for Kappa. Oh my god. I can't believe what I just witnessed. Coming out of left field. I didn't expect Martin to actually go so fast. Holy crap. And thus, we move on to our last map for the day. Control, the decider. Oh, man, I'm about running out of breath. I'm about to pass out. I don't know what's happening, but oh my goodness. Kappa, Martin and Marek, ladies and gentlemen, delivering the goods. Now, looking at the stat, I know we've been managing to trump the stats every time so far, but it's going to be advantage to G1. They took 2 wins out of the 3 times they played this map, so 67% win rate. We've only won this map once. I think it was against Carmine Corp, actually, even. Yeah. In terms of averages, slight advantage for G1, and in terms of average positions, We are also looking at a bit of an advantage for G1, maybe? 2.15 for Gwen, 2.85 for Binks, and more consistent finishes, I believe, for Kappa and Tween. 2.57 to 2.75 for Tween and Kappa. Man, it all comes down to this. We could be in with 3 straight wins out of 3 consecutive weeks. Currently, Kappa managing to get a pretty solid start before we head over the bubble. Tween also right there in the mix, so it is looking like a pretty close call already as we're moving through the first sector, and there's less than a tenth and a half between first and last. This is going to be way too close to call.
Yeah, this first round is going to be pretty tight here, but it's all kind of down to these jumps, especially the exit on this bobsleigh here. And Tween typically has a really good exit, as we've seen here. He's able to keep pace with Gamers First. Kappa, on the other hand, falling slightly behind, but G1 right now having really good pace so far in this first round here. Gwen touching just a little bit, but it's not going to be that big of a mistake there. It's now down to the identity. Binks making the first. Binks is the first mistake to be had here. Gwen is going now to have to lead into this first position.
Come on, Marek.
It's not going to be enough. 0.017 behind Gwen, but one insane round. Where's Kappa and Binks though?
Binks way far down.
Kappa because Martin. Oh wait, what happened? Wait, what?
Yeah, Martin must have had also a blunder at the very same spot as Binks, so he must have responded. So sorry if I'm just interjecting in the middle of a commentary. I'm just so on edge, man. This is insane. My heart, like, this is exactly the same scenario as last week. My heart, is gonna be completely gone by the end of this, as we're moving on to round 2 then. For this last map of the day, and it's a draw, man. It couldn't be any closer to start things off as we're moving onto the bubble right now. It's a solid start for Gwen and Binks right now. G1. Oh, Gwen, watch out. He almost did this. He did the same as Granadi. He managed to keep it on the road, but it was very much a close call between him and the, not quite the guardrail, but clipping with the right side off of the map as we're moving onto the bobsleigh jump. Kappa coming back in. Same for Tween. Look at the speed from the bobsleigh now through the double right-hander. Looking very, very sharp. Close to the apex. Tween going toe-to-toe with Binks for the lead. Kappa half a second down. He's going to have to rely on Marek to try and pick up the slack and guarantee at the very least a point for the duo. Binks, Tween, Gwen, super close proximity between these three, heading into the identity. Binks continuing to lead, Gwen going very, very low to reeling Tween, and actually does not manage to make the move stake. Is it going to be enough for Tween to actually get back into second position? The answer is going to be a big yes at the finish line. Actually, Binks going very slow. It's a draw for 1/100th of a second. My theory, I've already explained the theory during the regionals, but I feel like, you know, it's a bit of a concave quarter pipe at the very end, at the time that you land on the both sides of the identity, because when you actually land a little bit wider, you end up in a bit different part of the concave, and with your steering input, it ends up widening the corner a little bit wider than what Binks was probably expecting or wanting the car to do. So that enabled Tween with a much more shallow landing to actually get a straighter path to the finish line, and thus saving a lot of time. Kappa managing to get a pretty solid landing as well as we're moving through the rest of the field. And yes, still like less than half a tenth between first and last. This is too close.
Tween opting for a little bit wider line, though. Is he going to be able to have enough exit speed is going to be the question here. Yes, he is. Now Kappa and Tween looking to pull ahead potentially. Binks saying, no, sir, I'm still in this fight, and Gwen is still there too. So yeah, no, it is still very neck and neck at this point here. It's going to be down to who can get the least amount of air in this identity. It's going to be Binks Kappa versus Tween and Gwen here. First jump, everybody manages to clear.
Gwen completely butchered it.
Now Binks and Kappa are going to be the ones. It's going to be down to the wire. Who's it going to be? It's going to be to the line. It's going to be Kappa. Just so slightly that nose, 0.025, and Kappa's going to be able to sink it in there and allow Sinners to get the victory with a 4-3 score.
Man, we take those rounds whenever we can. We now take the lead in the map. I think, yeah, not quite for the first time, but for the second time in the series, I believe. And yeah, this is so important, these kinds of rounds right now for Kappa and Tween to actually take advantage of. I mean, Gwen was right there, but he completely butchered the landing at the very edge of the first landing at the identity for the first vert plant, as I like to call these, because they do look like vert plants when you perform on the skateboard, when you actually try to pull off a trick. I don't know. Tony Hawk knowledge, everyone. This is just Tony Hawk game knowledge, everyone. This is just how I spend my life. Either way, oh, Kappa going very wide. Yeah, he had a lot of airtime. This is not an uncommon thing to have, actually, to have a few misjudgments there. But you can see, yeah, it just ends up. This is an area where the gaps tend to widen quite a bit if you mess it up big time, as we're currently following along with Tween, Gwen, and Binks first and second. Trying to retaliate. Tween trying to move back up into second place. So the exit from the bobsleigh was not exactly that great, and the mistake from Gwen is actually coming in right on cue, because it allows also Kappa to move up into third position. Gwen back down to last place, 1.1 seconds down on his teammate, again trying to save the ass of Gamers First as he continues to lead by 3/10 ahead of Tween. He went very low at the jump at the first part of the identity, looking very, very poised and very, very racy indeed. Tween's missed up the jump. Yeah, Kappa moved up into second, so at the very least we salvage a point, but that was a draw thrown right into the gutter, unfortunately for us. So now G1, Sinners 5-5. Man, the madness continues.
The madness continues. And we're now to the halfway point of deciding who is going to win this match here for this map in the final map of this best of 7. And like we said, it's 3-3 right now. It's tense. Everybody's nervous. We can't speak half the time.
My connection is nervous even.
How much our brains are going. Our connection's Tom's connection is nervous. Everything's going haywire. I can barely keep track of everything that's happening right now, but what I can say is that it is neck and neck even in this round. Tween taking the minor lead over the pack at the moment, but Binks, being the closer for G1, has been able to be so consistent so far, but now Gwen is going to be the first one to fall ever so slightly behind with his
solid line from Binks.
And Binks now trying to come back and be that closer like we've been talking about here, as he is getting closer to his holding at the moment. Binks having to make an adjustment with a small drift, and now that leads the opportunity for Sinners to be able to make a potential ace here. And Gwen is going to make a massive mistake.
Go on. Tween is slow. Tween is slow.
Opportunity to get the ace. And Binks is going to try to fight it, but it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. It's going to be an ace for Sinners, 8-5, and we have the opportunity to close it out and win this match.
Guys, spam the Sinners emote right now more than ever. 8-5, a 3-point lead. We might be into break even on the scoreboard this season. We could have our third match win in 3 weeks after an absolutely insane round of bad luck since the beginning of the year. We've started to turn things around, and we might even be on the verge. As I said, 3-3. We could be seeing that. We need to pull off a victory, though. First and third are what is needed by Kappa and Tween. We know we can pull it off. Gamers First are not invulnerable. They've shown some chinks in their armor all the way through the match. And yeah, Gwen, a bit of a back marker. Binks continuing to be the rescuer for G1, but at one point, his rescuing ability is going to be only able to last for so long. Binks cannot really do anything if his teammate is not able to really pick up any of the pieces that are left on the table. Currently, Kappa, though, 3/10 down. This is looking like a potential solid round for G1 to potentially mount up a counter ace as we're moving on to the bobsleigh part. Kappa managing to move back up into third place. The exit from Tween's bobsleigh, oh, it is super sketchy. He's going to be out of contention. It's all down to Kappa to prevent the ace from happening for G1. He knows that he could potentially reel at least Gwen back in to salvage a point from that particular situation. Gwen going a little bit wider, allowing Kappa to move up into second position. Binks still in the lead, leading into the identity with a very, very low line indeed. Gwen trying to recoup that second place with a much lower line compared to that of Kappa's. Kappa continuing to hold on to second place for dear life. Is it going to be able to prevent the ace from happening? It's going to be a no! 0.872 and 0.25 difference between second and third. Man, my heart rate, I can't take any of this. 8-8, track 7, round number 7.
8-8.
Oh.
Potentially the last round here as we go into it. Round number 7. Tween having made the mistake last round, allowing Gamers First to get their ace. Kappa tried to fight, but it just wasn't enough. And now we're in the situation that we are, with it being neck and neck here. Who is going to make the first mistake, or are we going to have a fight all the way to the end here is the question. Binks with the small lead at the moment here. His pace has been insane on this map, been super solid for this G1 squad, but Kappa and Tween have had to say things otherwise. Gwen is going to be the first mistake here as he makes a small blunder. Maybe not so, as he is able to regain his spot over Tween. Tween having fallen back as well. Kappa now over in the lead and first. Binks behind at the moment here. Kappa still able to maintain his lead. Tween only 0.4 behind. One mistake is going to change the results here. Kappa in the lead at the moment. Binks going super low. Gwen low as well. Binks having a little bit more speed than Kappa into the second jump. Is it going to be enough for Kappa is the question. I don't know. It's going to be really close. Kappa getting it first at least, and it's a tie. It's a tie. We go into essentially what will be almost overtime here in this final round. Here we go.
I've had a few bouts of your mic clipping back and forth on my end, so I've had you blasting into my ears over the last few seconds. Oh, round 8, round down to 9. We could well go into overtime on the last game. It's a very real possibility here. This is too tense for my poor Frenchie heart. We can still do this, man. Come on, proper vindication stuff right there, including the last 2 weeks. Tween managing to get a really solid line over the bubble, so he will take the lead at the end of sector number 1. Binks and Kappa second and third. Gwen a little bit on the back foot, a little bit slower. 3/10 down before the platform jump. Kappa clipping a little bit. That's going to allow Gwen to move through into third place. Let's hope that Kappa is able to reel him back in. The answer is going to be a big yes before the bobsleigh part. Tween continuing to lead by about 2/10 to 3/10 of a second, half a second even, over the G1 duo. But Kappa is nowhere to be seen. We have to rely on a mistake from G1 in order to actually claim the victory here. Kappa is 1.1 second down on the nearest G1 member. Tween needs to bring this home to at least ensure overtime is going to be a thing. Gwen is going to be full stop picking. Kappa makes it through. Binks is into Beto, but he's winning first into respawn as well. Ladies and gentlemen, for the third time in 3 consecutive weeks, Sinners are your winners with a .355 for Tween as well at the end of an enthralling 7-game series, just like last week. We break even in the scoreline, and just like that, our playoff chances grow even more likely by the day. I don't know about you, Import, but I feel like it is a damn good time to be a Sinners fan. GG!